Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today is Sunday, March 4th, 2018. Today I'm going to recap the big results in yesterday's college basketball games and make picks for today's games, recap the NBA last night, and make a pick for the ESPN game tonight. I went 45-11 with the college picks yesterday and 1-0, or I got my NBA pick correct, so a total of 46-11 in Saturday's podcast picks. I'm going to go through which ones I got right and wrong on the podcast as I go. Saturday's college results. Miami defeated Virginia Tech 69-68 in the ACC regular season finale. Miami improves to 22-8. Virginia Tech drops to 22-10. Chris Lykes sank the front end of a 1-1 with 3 seconds left. And the Hurricanes win their second thriller of the week. Dejan Vasiljevic put up 16 in the win, and Justin Robinson put up 16 in defeat. Result worth noting, but I didn't pick on the podcast. Georgia Tech defeated Wake Forest by a score of 64-56. I had Miami on the podcast. Florida defeated Kentucky by a score of 80-67. I had Florida on the podcast. They improved to 20-11. Kentucky drops to 21-10. Jalen Hudson put up 22 points in the win. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander put up 17 in defeat, and I had Florida on the podcast. Number 3, Xavier defeated DePaul by a score of 65-62. I had Xavier on the podcast. Xavier improves to 27-4. DePaul drops to 11-19. Trayvon Blewett puts up 22 in the win, and Brandon Cyrus puts up 20 in defeat. Providence defeated St. John's by a score of 61-57. I had Providence on the podcast. They improved to 19-12. St. John's drops to 15-16. Rodney Bullock put up 13 points in the win, and Marvin Clark put up 14 in defeat. Texas defeated number 20 West Virginia by a score of 87-79 in overtime, and Texas didn't even have Mo Bamba. I had Texas on the podcast. They improve to 11-13. West Virginia drops to 22-9. Kerwin Roach led the way for Texas with 22 points. Lamonte West of West Virginia put up 15 in defeat. In the SoCon tournament, UNC Greensboro defeated the Citadel by a score of 72-58. I had Greensboro on the podcast. Demetrius Troy put up 14 in the win, and Zane Najdawi put up 17 in defeat. LIU Brooklyn defeated Fairleigh Dickinson by a score of 78-77 in the Northeast Tournament semifinal. I had LIU Brooklyn on the podcast. Raekwon Clark put up 28 in the win. Darnell Edge put up 23 in defeat. LSU defeated... wait a minute. Yeah, LSU defeated Mississippi State by a score of 78-57. I lost track for a second. Sorry about that. LSU improves to 17-13. Mississippi State drops to 21-10. Brandon Sampson put up 16 in the win. Lamar Peters put up 15 in defeat. Mississippi State still has a chance to get in if they make a good run in the SEC tournament. In the America East quarterfinal, UMBC defeated UMass Lowell by a score of 89-77. I had UMBC on the podcast. Jarius Lyles put up 18 in the win. Jahad Thomas put up 18 in defeat. Big win for Syracuse as they defeated number 18 Clemson by a score of 55-52. I had Syracuse on the podcast. They close out the season 19-12. Clemson drops to 22-8. O'Shea Brissett put up 17 in the win. Marquise Reed put up 21 in defeat. Syracuse, I think, has work to do. Maybe 2 wins in the ACC tournament is good enough to get them in at large. We shall see. Florida State defeated Boston College by a score of 85-76. I had Florida State on the podcast. They improved to 20-10. BC drops to 17-14. Trent Forrest put up 21 in the win, and Kai Bowman put up 22 in defeat. Texas A&M got a big win, defeating Alabama by a score of 68-66 in a close one. Texas A&M closes out 20-11. Alabama drops to 17-14. Tyler Davis put up 20 in the win. Colin Sexton put up 23 in a loss. Alabama I think needs a couple big wins in the SEC tournament if they want an at-large bid. Kansas State defeated Baylor by a score of 77-67 at Kansas State. On the podcast, they improved to 21-10. Baylor drops to 18-13. Dean Wade put up 25 in the win. Nooney Omot put up 30 in defeat. Michigan defeated Michigan State by a score of 75-64 in the Big Ten semifinal. Big win for the Wolverines. Miles Bridges put up 17 in the loss, and Maurice Wagner put up 15 in the win. Michigan will face Purdue later today, and I'll pick the game on my podcast. Wagner defeated Robert Morris by a score of 75-64 in the Northeast Conference men's semifinal. And by the way, I had Michigan State on the podcast, so I was wrong with that pick. Back to Wagner, Robert Morris. JoJo Cooper put up 20 in the win, and Deshaun Burke put up 18 in defeat. Stanford upset Arizona State by a score of 84-83. Big win for Stanford. They improved to 17-14. Arizona State drops to 20-10. Reed Travis put up 20 in the win. Trey Holder put up 19 in defeat. Reed Travis put up 24 points in the win. And I had Arizona State on the podcast, and I was wrong. Marquette defeated Creighton by a score of 85-81. Big win for Marquette. They improved to 18-12. Creighton drops to 21-10. Andrew Rousey put up 26 in the win. Marcus Foster put up 29 in defeat. Wofford defeated Mercer by a score of 73-53 in the SoCon quarterfinal. I had Mercer. I was wrong there. Jordan Strawberry put up 18 in defeat, and Nathan Hoover put up 22 in the win. Big win for Auburn as they defeated South Carolina by a score of 79-70. Auburn finishes the year 25-6. South Carolina drops to 16-15. Bryce Brown put up 29 in the win, and Frank Booker put up 27 in defeat. South Carolina is a candidate to play spoiler in the SEC tournament. By the way, Missouri Valley semifinal, Loyola Chicago defeated Bradley by a score of 62-54. Clayton Custer put up 12 in the win, and Dwayne Latier Ogunlayi put up 12 in defeat. Number 1, Virginia defeated Notre Dame by a score of 62-57. Virginia is headed for the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. They improved to 28-2. Notre Dame improves to 18-13. Devin Hall put up 17 in the win. Bonzie Colson put up 24 in defeat. I think Notre Dame still has a shot in at large. They just need to win a couple games in the Atlantic Coastal Conference tournament. Oklahoma State upset number 6 Kansas by a score of 82-64. I had Oklahoma State on the podcast. They improved to 18-13, and Kansas drops to 24-7. Oklahoma State has a case for an at-large. If they need a few more wins in the Big 12 tournament, and I would strongly consider them as an at-large. I'll do a mock bracket tomorrow on the podcast. Kendall Smith put up 25 in the win. Devontae Graham put up 15 in defeat. But yeah, big-time win for Oklahoma State. They have 2 wins over Kansas, a win over West Virginia, a win over Texas Tech, a win over Oklahoma. They have a legit resume and strongly should be considered for the field. Number 12, Texas Tech defeated TCU by a score of 79-75. Texas Tech improves to 23-8. TCU drops to 21-10. Keenan Evans is back for Texas Tech. He put up 23 in the win. Desmond Bain put up 21 in defeat. I had Texas Tech on the podcast. In the CAA quarterfinal, that was the first round. Drexel defeated James Madison by a score of 70-62. Tremaine Isabel put up 24 in the win, and Matt Lewis put up 15 in the loss. WCC quarterfinal, BYU defeated San Diego by a score of 85-79. BYU will play St. Mary's in the semifinal tomorrow night. Elijah Brandt put up 27 in the win, and Isaiah Pinheiro put up 21 in defeat, and I had BYU on the podcast. Hartford defeated New Hampshire by a score of 71-60 in the America East quarterfinal. John Carroll put up 21 in the win, and Tanner Lessiner put up 21 in defeat. Oregon defeated Washington by a score of 72-64. Big win for Oregon. They finish out the year 20-11. Washington finishes out the year 20-11. Peyton Pritchard put up 14 in the win. David Chris put up 19 in the losses. I think both of these teams need a couple wins in the Pac-12 tournament if they want at-larges. Although I think Washington's a more likelier candidate to get in because of the Kansas win and because of an Arizona win. Number 8, Purdue defeated Penn State by a score of 78-70 in the Big Ten semifinal. Carson Edwards was the best player on the court. He put up 27 in the win. Shep Gardner put up 33 in a loss for Penn State. I don't think Penn State makes the tournament, although they had a nice run. I think they had to at least beat Purdue and make that final if they had a shot. But I could be wrong. We'll see how today's game goes with Michigan for Purdue. Number 4, Villanova crushed Georgetown 97-73. Villanova finishes at 27-4. Georgetown finishes at 15-14. Mikal Bridges put up 24 in the win. Jesse Govan put up 30 in defeat. And I had Villanova on the podcast. In the Horizon League quarterfinal, Wright State defeated Green Bay by a score of 87-72. Wright State advances. Loudon Love put up 17 in the win, and Khalil Small put up 34 in defeat. NC State defeated Louisville by a score of 76-69. I had NC State on the podcast. They finish out 21-10. Louisville finishes 19-12. I think NC State's in because they do have big wins over North Carolina and Duke and Clemson. Louisville needs to win a couple games, and maybe one win can get them in, but I think Louisville's on the wrong side of the bubble. If they had beaten Virginia the other night, I think they would have been in for sure. Alec Freeman put up 16 in the win, and Dan Goodell put up 20 in defeat. So we shall see what happens with these two teams in the ACC tournament. Number 16, Tennessee defeated Georgia by a score of 66-61. Tennessee finishes at 23-7. Georgia finishes at 16-14. Georgia's probably headed for the NIT, maybe even not the NIT. Tennessee, I'm interested to see what they could do in the conference tournament. Admiral Schofield had 23 in the win, and Yonte Mayton had 18 in defeat. And I had Tennessee on the podcast. Missouri defeated Arkansas by a score of 77-67. Big win for Missouri. They improved to 20-11. Arkansas finishes at 21-10. Both of these teams, I think, are headed for the tournament. Michael Porter Jr. is supposed to come back for the SEC tournament. So I think both of these teams are headed for the big dance. Jordan Barnett put up 19 in the win. Daniel Gafford put up 16 in defeat. And I had Mizzou on the podcast. In the SoCon quarterfinal, East Tennessee State defeated Chattanooga by a score of 77-59. Jalon McLeod put up 22 in the win, and McKindy London put up 13 in defeat. And I had East Tennessee on the podcast. In the West Coast quarterfinal, San Francisco defeated Pacific 71-70 in overtime. And San Francisco moves on to play Gonzaga. Jordan Ratino put up 20 in the win, and Miles Reynolds put up 20 in defeat. I had San Francisco on the podcast. In the Missouri Valley semifinal, We had a bit of an upset here. Illinois State defeated Southern Illinois 76-68 in overtime. Illinois State will play Loyola Chicago for the Missouri Valley Championship, and the winner of that game goes to the big dance. I'll pick that game later on in the podcast. Sean Lay Jr. had 15 in defeat, and Phil Fain put up 26 in the win. I had Southern Illinois in the podcast. I was wrong. Arizona defeated Cal by a score of 66-54. Arizona closes out a tumultuous finish to their season, 24-7, with the Pac-12 regular season outright title. Cal drops to 8-23. DeAndre Ayton put up 26 points in the win. Justice Suing put up 17 in the loss. Depending on how things go in the Pac-12 tournament for the Wildcats, they could end up on the 3 line. In this CAA first round, Delaware defeated Elan by a score of 86-79. Ryan Daly put up 23 in the win, and Dimitri Thompson put up 17 in defeat. Utah defeated Colorado by a score of 64-54. Utah finishes the year 19-10. Colorado finishes at 16-14. Utah is a couple wins away from an at-large, in my opinion. Justin Bibbins put up 24 in the win. McKinley Wright put up 16 in defeat. And I had Utah on the podcast. An upset in the Conference USA. Marshall defeated number 24 Middle Tennessee by a score of 76-67. Marshall improves to 21-10. Middle Tennessee drops to 24-6. I don't think Middle Tennessee is an at-large. This was a bad loss for them. Brandon Walters put up 20 in the win. John Elmore put up 23 in... John Elmore put up 23 in the win. Brandon Walters put up 20 in defeat. I think Middle Tennessee has to win their conference tournament if they want to get in, because I don't think they are an at-large team with that loss. Fairfield upset Niagara in the Metro Atlantic quarterfinal by a score of 90-77. I had Fairfield on the podcast, and I predicted them in my preview podcast too. So I had this upset picked a couple days ago. Tyler Nelson put up 27 in the win, and Dominic Robb put up 29 in defeat. Fairfield will now play Quinnipiac in the semifinal. In this Summit League quarterfinal, South Dakota State defeated Western Illinois 66-60. Mike Daum put up 33 in the win. Isaac Johnson put up 17 in defeat. Daum's an outstanding player. Double-double machine. If South Dakota State were to be in the tournament, they'd be a threat to knock off a 4 or a 5 seed if they were a 12 or a 13. Stony Brook upset Albany 69-60 in the America East quarterfinal. Akwasi Yeboah put up 18 in the win, and Joe Sermo put up 24 in defeat. I got that pick wrong. I had Albany on the podcast. Vermont defeated Maine 75-70 in the America East quarterfinal. I had Vermont on the podcast. Trey Bell Haynes put up 21 in the win. Isaiah White put up 17 in defeat. St. Bonaventure defeated St. Louis by a score of 64-56. St. Bonaventure closes the year 24-6. St. Louis closes the year at 16-15. Courtney Stockard put up 22 in the win, and Javon Best put up 15 in defeat. Seton Hall defeated Butler by a score of 77-70. I had Seton Hall on the podcast. They improve to 21-10. Butler drops to 19-12. Kadeen Carrington put up 25 in the win. Khalid Martin had 35 in defeat. So a big win for Seton Hall, and I still think both of these teams aren't in the field. An upset in the Horizon League quarterfinal. Cleveland State upset Northern Kentucky 89-80. Tyree Appleby had 24 in the win. Drew McDonald had 24 in defeat. Why do I always feel like the 1 seed in the Horizon League gets knocked off every year in the quarters or the semis? Murray State defeated Belmont 68-51 in the Ohio Valley final, and Murray State is the first team to punch its ticket to the big dance. Jonathan Stark put up 25 in the win. Excuse me. Kevin McLean put up 17 in defeat. I almost sneezed there. I wouldn't want to sneeze on my podcast. So yeah, Murray State goes to the big dance. Biggest game of last night in terms of regular season college basketball. Duke defeated North Carolina 74-64. Duke finishes the year 25-6. North Carolina finishes the year 22-9. Marvin Bagley put up 21 in the win. Cameron Johnson put up 16 in defeat. North Carolina had a double-digit lead in this game. They blew it, but they give the Blue Devils credit for the comeback, and I had Duke on the podcast. Furman defeated Western Carolina 97-73 in the SoCon quarterfinal. Daniel Fowler put up 18 in the win. Marcus Thomas put up 19 in defeat. Iona defeated Manhattan by a score of 72-60 in the Metro Atlantic quarterfinal. Zach Lewis put up 23 in the win. Paulie Polycap put up 16 in defeat. And Iona now plays St. Peter's in the semifinal. And I had Iona on the podcast. South Dakota defeated Omaha by a score of 87-73 in the Summit League quarterfinal. I had South Dakota on the podcast. Matt Mooney put up 20 in the win. Zach Johnson put up 26 in defeat. San Diego State upset number 21 Nevada by a score of 79-74. San Diego State finishes the year 19-10. Nevada finishes the year 26-6. Trey Kell put up 17 in the win. Jordan Caroline put up 29 in defeat. I still think Nevada's headed for an at-large because they have a nice resume. Gonzaga defeated Loyola Marymount 83-69 in the West Coast quarterfinal. I had Gonzaga on the podcast. Keelan Tilley put up 24 in the win. James Bateman put up 27 in defeat. Big win for UCLA defeating USC at USC by a score of 83-72. UCLA finishes at 20-10. USC finishes at 21-10. I think both of these teams are headed for the big dance. Aaron Holiday had a career game, 34 points in the win for the Bruins. Jordan McLaughlin put up 19 in defeat. And I had USC on the podcast, and I was wrong. In a late-night game, St. Mary's defeated Pepperdine in a fun game, 69-66 in the West Coast quarterfinal. And St. Mary's is lucky to survive this game because I was watching this and I was thinking, if St. Mary's loses this game, they might not even be an at-large, or at worst, even they'd be a bubble team in the play-in game. But good for St. Mary's getting the win. Jordan Ford put up 19 in the win. Colby Ross put up 15 in defeat. That's it for the Saturday picks. I'm going to pick a couple games for today. I have 20 games for you between AAC regular season finales and the conference tournament picks. Number 10 Cincinnati at number 11 Wichita State. Give me Wichita State. That game's underway. Charleston and Drexel in the CAA quarterfinal. Give me Charleston. Patriot League semifinal, Colgate hosting Holy Cross. Give me Colgate. That game's underway. Radford hosting Liberty Radford against Liberty. It's a neutral game in the Big South final. Give me Radford to punch a ticket to the big dance. Patriot League semifinal, Bucknell hosts Boston University. Give me Bucknell. Missouri Valley final, Loyola Chicago and Illinois State. Give me Loyola Chicago for the win. CAA quarterfinal, Towson and William & Mary. Give me Towson for the upset. Lipscomb, Florida Gulf Coast. Atlantic Sun final. Give me Florida Gulf Coast to punch a ticket to the big dance. Number 25 Houston hosts UConn. Give me Houston big. SoCon semifinal, Greensboro against Wofford. Give me Greensboro. The Big Ten final is the best game of the day. Michigan, Purdue. This should be a great game between two very good teams in the Big Ten. If Michigan gets the win, they could very well be on the 4 line. If Purdue wins, they can find themselves with a couple other weird results, possibly on the 1 line. But let's be more realistic here. If they win this game, they'll probably be on the 2 line. I think Carson Edwards and Isaac Cass lead the way for Purdue to get themselves the Big Ten tournament title. So Purdue for the win in the Big Ten game. UIC Milwaukee in the Horizon League quarterfinal, give me UIC. Delaware Northeastern in the CAA quarterfinal, give me Northeastern. Furman East Tennessee State in the SoCon semifinal, give me East Tennessee State. St. Peter's Iona in the Metro Atlantic semifinal, give me Iona. North Dakota State, Fort Wayne in the Summit League quarterfinal, give me Fort Wayne. IUPUI in Oakland in the Horizon League quarterfinal, give me Oakland. UNC Wilmington and Hofstra in the CAA quarterfinal, give me Hofstra. 2 more picks left. Fairfield and Quinnipiac in the Metro Atlantic semifinal, give me Fairfield. Oral Roberts in Denver in the Summit League quarterfinal, give me Denver. All right, I'm going to recap NBA from last night and preview tonight's games, and I'll make a pick for the ESPN game tonight. You had the Magic defeating the Grizzlies 107-100 in the Battle of Tankers. Orlando is 20-43 now. Memphis is 18-44. Evan Fournier hit a tie-breaking 3 with 22.5 seconds left. And Nikola Vucevic had 19 points in the win. Ben McLemore put up 20 in defeat. Big win for the Denver Nuggets, 126-117 over the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Nuggets improved to 35-28. Cleveland drops to 36-26. Gary Harris had 32 in the win. Will Barton had 23 in the win. LeBron James put up 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 15 assists in defeat. Disappointing loss for the Cavs, but big win for Denver. Denver's still hanging around that 8 spot in the West. Denver's beaten pretty much every good team this season. They've defeated Golden State. They've defeated San Antonio. They've defeated Oklahoma City. They've defeated now Cleveland. They did lose to Boston, and they did lose to Houston on the year, but they've proven themselves as a threat come playoff time by beating a couple contenders already this season. Big win for the Miami Heat, 105-96 over the Detroit Pistons. Miami's now 33-30. Detroit now 29-34. Kelly Olynyk put up 17 in the win, and Blake Griffin put up 31 points and 6 assists in defeat. God, what a disaster for Detroit. They were playing well for a little while after they traded for Blake Griffin, and now they're in free fall. And Stan Van Gundy made the Griffin trade to save his job. He might not even have a job by the summer. And you know what? Detroit might be headed for the lottery. And the Clippers are thinking, oh, hey, we may have a lottery pick. So stay tuned to see what finishes in Detroit on this season. In the best game of the night, the Rockets defeated the Celtics 123-120. I picked the Rockets on yesterday's podcast. They're now 49-13, 15 straight wins. Boston's out 44-20. Eric Gordon put up 29 in the win. Marcus Morris put up 21 in defeat. James Harden also had 26 points and 10 assists in the win. Chris Paul made some great plays down the stretch. And you know what? It's a tough loss for Boston. But you know what? I saw a lot of good things from Boston in that game. They can hang with the better teams from the West. And they've shown that already this season. They defeated Houston in their own building when they came back from that big deficit on the TNT Thursday night game. And they also defeated Golden State in their own building this year. So they have shown this year that they can beat good teams from the Western Conference. And probably the most surprising result of last night, the Lakers defeated the Spurs by a score of 116-112. The Lakers have won 5 in a row. They are now 28-34. The Spurs are now 36-27. Julius Randle put up 25 in the win. Pau Gasol put up 19 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists in the loss. Lonzo Ball put up 6 3-pointers in the game. So that was a nice win for Los Angeles. The Thunder defeated the Trailblazers. The Trailblazers defeated the Thunder by a score of 108-100. The Blazers are 37-26. Oklahoma City is 37-28. C.J. McCollum put up 28 in the win, and Russell Westbrook put up 30 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists in defeat. Damian Lillard also had a nice game with 20 points and 7 assists. So a big win for Portland. And the Jazz defeated the Kings by a score of 98-91. The Jazz need to take care of these tanking teams. They're now 33-30. Sacramento's now 19-44. Donovan Mitchell was great again, 27 points. De'Aaron Fox put up 17 points in defeat. Tonight's games, you have the battle of two tankers in the Hawks and the Suns from Atlanta. John Collins has had a nice rookie year for Atlanta, and I've mentioned his name a couple times on this podcast. Phoenix, Alfred Payton's actually looked pretty good with the Suns. I like watching him and Devin Booker play together. It's like a fun little backcourt. I need to see improvement from their lottery picks from a few years ago, Marquise Chris and Dragon Bender. Maybe they use them as trade assets this summer. So they're an interesting team to watch this summer, as they're rumored for a possible destination for Aaron Gordon. The Hornets and the Raptors. The Hornets have played a little better lately by picking off some teams. They had a nice little winning streak. But the Raptors are the best team in the East. I don't see the Hornets making this interesting. Pacers-Wizards is an interesting game. It'd be nice if Indiana were to pick off a good team. They've been getting picked off by bad teams lately, but also of the Wizards. So that's an interesting game to watch. Pelicans at the Mavs. The Pelicans got to take advantage of the tanking teams. I think the Pelicans should win that game. ESPN tonight. 76ers at the Bucks. Tough call. You know what? I'm going to be ballsy here and go with Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and company to get a big road win at Milwaukee. If they can beat Cleveland, then they can beat Milwaukee and Milwaukee. And the thing is that the Sixers probably won't even have the best guy on the court. The best guy on the court is going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. But I just like Philly's chances here to get the win. The Nets are at the Clippers. Give me the Clippers big at home. Even though that's not a pick that doesn't count towards the podcast picks. And the game that does count, as I mentioned just before, the Sixers-Bucks counts towards my podcast picks. And the other game tonight, the Knicks are at the Kings. Won't be shocked who wins this game. Both these teams are tanking. Excuse me. New York has a nice, interesting backcourt of Trey Burke, Emmanuel Mudiay, and then Frank Ntilikina coming off the bench. They're starting to play the young guys more often, and that's what I like from New York. The Kings have a nice foundation with Willie Cauley-Stein and De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield. So I'm interested to see all these young guys play tonight. All right, that's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping all these games and making picks for important games for Monday in college basketball. I might do a bracket podcast and project my bracket and compare it to somebody else's bracket that's big in the bracket. Maybe Joe Lunardi, maybe Jerry Palm, maybe Kerry Miller again. We'll see. All right, I hope you guys have a nice Sunday afternoon, everybody.